During a UU Ministerial Formation Network retreat, I know that's a lot of words, Ministerial Formation Network retreat in June, a group of ministerial aspirants and candidates, including me, were invited to work with archetypes as we journey this path of becoming UU ministers. And not just lists of words of archetypes, but beautifully illustrated cards of archetypes. I was bouncing with joy. Ooh, pretty cards, here we go, yes. Have any of you worked with tarot? I'll ask that question again, but I was like, you know, like, oh, cards. So the first card, which is, I think, yes, it is showing, representing an archetype of place, was given to each of us at random. Now, some people completely rejected this first archetype, like, nope, that is not a place for me, nope. But we got to think about it and talk about it, and why. Some embraced it. I received the village. No shock there. The second card, let me see if I can do it. Oh, it worked. I know, this one went, oh. This second card was the archetype of person or role or identity. And we got to choose from a written list before we ever saw the pretty cards, and then received the cards. Now, I'm in the right demographic, so I chose the crone, right? And then I received this card. Now, some of you do not know me, but I am a longtime member here, a former religious educator here, and a longtime member of the pagan group, Frederick. So when I saw that crow, that raven, on the card, I was like, okay, the crone is me. That's it. That's mine. I embrace that role. And then third, we talked about symbols and could choose a card that spoke to us. So, like I do when I work with the tarot deck, I spread, the cards were all spread out. I closed my eyes, trying not to walk into anybody else, held my hand over the tabletop, stopping above a card that tugged a bit. You've done that before, right? Just that random picking thing. And this is what drew me. So, how many of you have actually worked with tarot or oracle cards? Would you raise your hand? Okay, so the moment that you ask this question to seek some guidance or something you just can't get clear in the head, and the card that it picks or that shows up just reaches up and smacks you ever so kindly in the face. Oh, yeah, I get it, okay. Yeah, that was right in front of me. Well, these three cards certainly gave me a lot to work with in regard to my own journey in, through, and toward ministry. Beloveds, I'm getting close. Okay, I just want to tell you that. But the gift didn't stop at me. In the weeks since they chose me, they've continued speaking about what's needed in this faith, Unitarian Universalism, and in this country right now, pointing the way to resistance and resilience, most importantly. For example, the village, which has its own stuff around it, right? A village can be, well, we'll talk about that. In my head, the village I pictured had paths between the dwellings. There were no fences. There were no gates. A village was often close to needed resources, so perhaps clean water or other food sources. People were looking out for one another in those villages. Not like those English villages in Agatha Christie mysteries where someone will peer surreptitiously through their curtains at the inappropriate behavior of the neighbors. Not that village. Villages also often would have creative ways to come back into relationship or covenant without punishing, even caring for those considered outside of the village itself. The crone, of course, kept talking to me because I'm she, I don't know. I thought of the crone as that former insider in the village who is now somewhat outside, maybe living on the outskirts of the village, but still a vital part because that crone is a keeper of history, of wisdom, perhaps a healer, most definitely an organizer, even if it's just of the little kids, right? Got to keep everybody organized. And the flame. Oh, my friends, the flame. The flame. A beacon, a hearth, a cleanser, a destroyer, a healer, and a symbol of hope and possibility. I've held these things in their positive forms, mostly because there's already enough negative swirling around in the world right now. But let's also acknowledge that these three archetypes also hold less pleasant or affirming connotations: harm and hurt and exclusivity. But let's take those archetypes and expand on their possibility, because here is a reality, beloveds. We are going to need to leverage every good of our mutual villages, our wisdom keepers and our healers, our fires of commitment in the days to come. Every one of them. So I offer you this elegant graphic. I did find one that has a lot of gray circles on it, and I was like, yeah, that's no fun. So we'll bring in the pink and the green and the blue and the cartoon. This page comes from a children's activity book titled Building Communities of Care, which grew out of a children's book, See You Soon, by Miriam Kaba and Bianca Diaz. And you may recognize Miriam's name from another book that Miriam wrote, We Do This Till We Free Us, Abolitionist Organizing and Transforming Justice. So much of this activity book has tools for kids to use in their own neighborhoods, in their own wealth of knowledge and their own community, about how to be in community without calling law enforcement. At least not calling law enforcement first. So I'd like to use this simplified pod model. They call it a pod, recognizing your pod, mapping your pod. There you go. And I want to use this 3 times. And yes, this is for your toolbox. And yes, you will get to talk to each other in a moment. Not right now. Hold on. So, first round of mapping your own pod. There you are in the middle in that blue circle. That's you. You are your own first resource. Congratulations. Well done. Now, think of those green circles surrounding the blue circle, which is you. Those are the 3 or 4 people who you turn to when you are having, in the words of this activity page, big feelings you need to process. Or if you are working through a decision. So these are your next resources. Yourself first, then the circle around you. So let's pause for a minute for some thinking. Can you name, don't talk yet, in your head, who are 3 or 4 people you think of around your circle there? Got them? Okay. You can change later too, if you, it's okay. All right. So there's your first circle. Now think further. Who do you reach out to next? Perhaps that first circle gave you some ideas, but you need a little more something. So perhaps this wider circle, those pink circles there, are the professional helpers, like counselors, therapists, social workers, ministers, chaplains, those sorts of people, this congregation. Do you have a secondary circle of trusted folks? Maybe the first circle is those immediate right now, and the second circle is somebody you might need to reach out to a little further. So take another minute, think of those next level supporters. Right. Anyone starting to feel like, hey, I know people. I got people. At least a few, right? There we go. Okay, so let's look at this slightly differently. Let's look at a bigger picture of this. Let's imagine in that blue circle is this congregation, the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Frederick, right at the center, where it should be, right? Right there at the center. All right. First circle, those green circles. What organizations, other institutions, are part of this faith community's first pod that we reach out to when we're having big feelings as a congregation? There's work to do. Who do we reach out to first? So there's your first circle. Think in your head. You're all going to have somebody different to think of, but take a minute to think about those other institutions that this faith community begins to reach out to when there is work to be done in the world. All right, got one or two? All right, turn to somebody near you, maybe somebody you don't know, and share those ideas. And I'll call you back in about a minute, okay? Go for it. All right, now take a minute. Let's widen that circle. You found those first ones that we talked to. What about the second circle? Who do we reach beyond that now? Talk amongst yourselves there for a minute. All right, friends, come back, come back, come back. Hello. Come on back. I think this sounds like a really good conversation. Y'all should talk about this some more. Okay. We're going to talk about it a little bit more. Are you ready for third round? Round 3. Ding, ding, ding. All right. I sense that you all have some ideas about that. You have some knowledge about who this congregation has worked with already. All right, so round 3, imagination caps on, here we go. Once again, this congregation in that center circle, first circle of green, those green circles. We're going to do a minute or so of thinking first, and then we'll talk about it. Who are the possible partners in this work ahead? All right? Who have we not thought of yet? Who have we not reached out to yet? I feel like that might be a hard question to answer because I know the work that this congregation has done, the deep work in creating community connections. But think hard, I know there's something, all right? So think for a minute and then talk to each other. Remember, we're going to do 2 of those, like immediately, who could we reach out to right now for the work that needs to be done right now, and then a little bit further. All right, you ready? Okay, go. All right, friends, come on back. Come back. Welcome back to the room. I also realize I want to include those folks online, so I hope you all have been writing things down, and we can send those in. All right, could I get a couple of ideas? Anybody have an idea they want to share of who we need to reach out to that we haven't already? Mm-hmm. Local unions. Okay. Anyone else?
Minority faith communities from majority white communities.
All right, so minority faith communities, maybe some of the smaller places, even some of the larger ones around here. Okay. All right. So you do, yes, ma'am. The Jewish congregation here, is there ways, and there are ways that we work together already, but maybe we could even leverage that more? Mm-hmm.
Local hunting organizations. I know that a certain subset of conservatives what we did here is mad about the attempt to sell and sell national lands.
Okay, so local hunting organizations, yeah. Ducks Unlimited is, like, I mean, no, that's not local, but they are fiercely environmental, like, folks. So, I'm sorry. Reverend Hell? The hospital itself. Yeah, the hospitals. Yeah, the local hospitals. Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff out there. All right. So the other thing that your very lively conversations, though they had to be truncated, I apologize for that. What that tells me is that you are all deeply connected to the life and work of community care. All right? If you were thinking you were not, here is your, yay, you! You're already doing this. You maybe just didn't think of it that way. Here's the other, in my nerdy self, thinks it's really cool. This kind of mutual aid and support, those connections across what seem insurmountable boundaries but are not, is part of our Unitarian and Universalist and Unitarian Universalist heritage from as far back as 1648. In one of our founding documents, the Cambridge Platform. Now there's a before bed read, if ever there was one. But I would encourage you to find a copy and read it anyway. The Cambridge Platform of 1648 outlined 6 ways churches, well, Congregationalist churches, were expected to care for each other. In 1648, this is what it says. Though distinct and lacking authority over one another, the platform affirms the importance of maintaining communion among congregational churches. 6 ways of showing the communion of churches are identified. 1, taking thought for each other's welfare. Consulting on any topic or cause where another church has more familiarity or information about a topic. 3, admonishing another church, even to the point of convening a synod of neighboring churches and ceasing communion with the offending church. Allowing members of one church to fully participate and receive the Lord's Supper in another church. 5, sending letters of recommendation when a member goes to a new church due to a seasonal or permanent relocation. And 6, financial support for poor churches. In 1648, the Cambridge Platform outlined the ways that each congregation needs the other. This was not about rugged individualism. Well, maybe a little bit, but not entirely. And somehow that got watered down and watered down and watered down until each congregation, fellowship must stand alone. No, it really must not. And it really cannot. It makes this founding document of our faith makes clear that though each congregation is indeed independent, what makes the individual strong and sustainable is the collective. Yes, I said collective. We are not meant to do this work of faith alone. We are not meant to do this work of faith alone. We are not meant to do this work of faith alone. Amen. So let's not. Beloveds, this village is strong, full of wisdom keepers, poets, healers, hopers, nurturers, organizers of all ages. All ages. The flame of justice and the fire of commitment shines fully, even when you may be tired or hurting. It is still there, because you are in the work together, and with all the other Unitarian, Universalist, and Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world, with all the partners of those congregations and beyond. I will close by repeating some of Langston Hughes's words. From those who live like leeches on the people's lives, we must take back our land, our faith, our hopes again, America. Let's roll up our sleeves, take up our tools, and build one with another. Blessed be, and amen.